Dick Hanna Dealerships presents the Postgame Scoreboard Show on the Fan Sports Network. Dick Hanna, believe in nice.
Here's that pitch going left. Davison, nice room. He's got inside of the 5 for the 3. Touchdown! Jordan Davison, make a miss. Don't arm tackle me. I'll run right through you. And that's exactly what happened.
A comprehensive recap of today's game with the players and coaches you want to hear from.
Touchdown, Oregon!
Up-to-the-minute traffic to get you home. And our game day crew of Andy Johnson, Dusty Hara, and former Duck star Anthony Newman joining the show. Oregon Ducks football on the Fan is brought to you by Coors Light, Dick Hanna Dealerships, Philbrook Law, Zoom Care, Bellagio's Pizza, Langdon Farms Golf Club, Wilsonville Toyota, Mountaintop Metal Roofing, Victor Rico's Mexican Food, Legends Casino Hotel, Mods PDX, and Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. The Dick Hanna Dealerships Post-Game Scoreboard Show on 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app starts now. Here's your hosts, Joe Fisher and Jordan Schultz.
What is up, sports fans? That was, I would say, a Pac-12 rising from the dead kind of game that we watched this afternoon. Oh my goodness, Oregon absolutely getting the very necessary and very exciting 42-27 win over USC down at Autzen Stadium this afternoon. Welcome on into the Ducks post-game scoreboard show. Joe Fisher on special assignment. He is out this evening sick, but we will hear from him. He decided to get well enough to check in. Trust me, I've had the cold for the last 2 weeks. Like, I get it. People just aren't feeling good. Brandon Henson is here. You've had a cold. Jerry Allen had a cold. You could tell during the game. It's like, God, it is the season, right? Happy Thanksgiving and happy sickness and flu and cold to everybody. But hell, who knows if any Ducks players were fighting through any of that. But it didn't show on the field today, guys. 42-27 win that we got a recap here on the Ducks post-game scoreboard show on 105.1 The Fan and the Fan Sports Network. Please check in if you'd like. I'm sure a lot of people want to react to, I think it was the most exciting game of the season. You can do so on the text line 503-864-6FAN or on the YouTube chat. We are there as well. Sure, tons of people heading home. We'll be giving you traffic and weather reports all night amidst this very foggy day along I-5 coming up through the Portland metro area here in the Willamette Valley. And what a night or afternoon into evening it was in the Willamette Valley for the Oregon Ducks. It started off a little shaky. I think Oregon didn't really think USC, despite their great offense, was going to come out looking so good against the top passing defense in college football. But guess what? USC came out looking as good as they have all season. They are an offense that scores a lot of points. They get near 500 yards a game when they're doing well, and they've got two of the biggest, most devastating weapons at wide receiver in Jaden Mayava has just two guys to throw to in Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane, but those weren't even the two guys that hurt you the most tonight. Some kid named Tinook Hines ended up coming in, had 140 yards and a tutty himself, and I guess you could say, I don't know, we'll get into the numbers that you despite the two touchdowns, contained Mekhi Lemon with only 34 yards on 7 catches, but at the same time, man, this was a hard game from the start. Oregon thankfully was able to score on their first drive as well to match USC, but there were times in that first half that I was a little worried, but thankfully we'll get to what was the turning point in the game, I think, and what will be our player of the game. Malik Benson's punt return for touchdown just changed everything and definitely swung the momentum Oregon's way. It was that kind of game Oregon couldn't afford to mess up, and I would say a lot of screw-ups by both teams in this game, whether it be penalties, whether it be mental mistakes that we can go over. But Oregon ultimately was able to, I would say, force USC, especially in the second half, to play to their style. That's one of the things they needed to do to get the win, man. Dante Moore showing up again. Yeah, the pick was there, but another great day through the air, 257 yards, 2 tutties, and yeah, number 7, Oregon looking like the offense, at least when they're on, that we know they can be. And of course, now with this win, the college football playoff hopes are more than just hopes. This seems almost, I mean, you can't look past Washington, okay? It's Husky Hate Week. There's a lot going on here in the state of Oregon and down the I-5 corridor, man. There are going to be people just foaming at the mouth, hoping that Washington can end Oregon's season and possibly put a huge damper in their hopes for the college football playoffs. So it's not like next week's game is a give me. It's going to be tough, but this is a win we got to dive into. And once again, 503-864-6FAN, and also on the YouTube chat as well. Would love to check in with all y'all listening and driving on your way home. This was not only the most exciting win of the season, Brandon, but I would say the most important win of the season for Oregon. I mean, one slip tonight in the second half, I feel like would have killed Oregon's chances. And you lose, your playoff opportunity goes down. I think they showed the graphic a lot. It was with a win, Oregon's like 90+% chance to get into the playoff. We knew that. And the at least predictions, if they lost, they're down to a 22% chance. So that was huge. This game meant everything. It really establishes how people are going to be viewing Oregon going into this final month or so of the season and into playoff time. And thankfully, they don't got to play in the Big Ten title game. I think that's a positive, man. Instead of worrying about that kind of thing, the Ducks can move to 10-1, chill out, and I would say put a little pressure on the committee, making them look good in this game. So, Brandon, I definitely was excited about tonight's win. Was excited to see the play from Noah Winnington, Kenny and Sadiq stepping up. There's a bunch of things that I want to talk about. But what stood out to you in tonight's win for Oregon, 42-27 over USC?
Yeah, it was a crazy game. Just a great game all around. Right from the jump, you can feel the tension of a big time top 15 game. Going into it, I was even thinking as the game was starting, I was like, was I more nervous for Penn State or this game? Because it felt like in the moment it had that same kind of intensity and excitement that Ducks fans were hoping for in this matchup. So it was such a good game. Both offenses showed out. The defenses were having a very hard time trying to contain both offenses.
Yeah.
USC's passing attack was for real. I think early on you were kind of wondering, okay, who's gonna be able to shut these guys down? Because it seemed like every time Maeva was throwing up the ball, they were coming down with the catches and at clutch moments.
It's kind of what Maeva's game was, right? Just throw the ball up in the air and hope one of his really good receivers can catch it, and they did a lot of the time.
Most of the first 5-6 times he did it, it worked. And then eventually, the odds went towards Oregon's side, and we were able to pick off a couple of those.
Well, and you're not even talking about the touchdown pass that Makai Lemon threw as well.
That was just absurd.
I mean,
that was a crazy play.
Did they contain Makai Lemon? It really, man. I would say kudos to both offensive coordinators here because they both pulled out some stops for today. Like Will Stein, obviously, with that Bryce Betcher touchdown on the Wildcat formation at the end of the first half, which really added to Oregon's momentum going into halftime. And then that play that we're talking about, man, I watched the replay twice and I was just like, how did this happen? But that catch also in the end zone I think it was Hines on that one, his toe just perfectly at the edge, man. It was just one of those games where USC's passing attack was there, and what they're known for is exactly what Oregon had to contend with, and they just didn't have the horses to stop them, at least in the first half. I mean, Maeva, overall, the numbers are good, 306 yards, 3 tutties. We're just talking about Makai Lemon with his 2 catches and his throw of a touchdown. I mean, this kid practically was involved despite only having 37 yards through the air. He was running the entire USC offense, it seemed like, at different times. Like, there's just so many guys that you can key in on and say, oh, all right, well, if we block him off, if we screen him, then they can make him beat us. Well, damn it, he beat us too. Like, there's so many of these guys that you thought if you could contain Makai Lemon and Jacoby Lane, you'd be okay. No, then Tunuk Hines comes out. One of my big keys was making sure that you hurried the hell out of Jaden Maeva, and that happened today. But, man, he was actually able to get out a couple of decent runs at one point. A 12-yard run, I believe, in the second half. Really opened up the offense for USC at one point. Like, there was just... Like, I know USC's good, but there was frustration on my part in the first half. But thankfully, at that moment, when they did have to punt. USC did. Malik Benson completely flipping the momentum back to Oregon with that 85-yard punt return for touchdown. And then you get the doink on a short field goal by USC. You thought it was a guaranteed just 3 there. And then, of course, going into that touchdown by Bryce Betcher that we were talking about. I mean, even shorthanded today, no DeCorian Moore, no Gary Bryant Jr., Oregon, they still found the right answers. And USC was down bodies too, and both teams were losing bodies during the damn game, man. USC center went down. Oregon had a couple of linemen. They didn't have Isaiah World coming in. Poncho, he went down during the game. Alex Harkey went down during the game. They were like down to their 4th and 5th offensive tackles, and that definitely at a point contributed to Oregon's offense slowing down to start the second half. That's a bad place to be when you're that deep in your depth chart, man. But somehow, with the skill players, with the play of Kenyon Sadiq, with the ground and pound running game that Oregon was able to just play to their style with and force USC to deal with, and they frankly weren't able to end up doing. Because of all that, Oregon was able to get the win today, Brandon, and thank God they were, because like I said, it was very exciting, but there were a couple of times where I really thought that Oregon was going to lose this game.
Yes, I was, for most of that first half, I was worried. I know it was dead even kind of both sides, but that punt return, literally play of the game, play of the year. I feel like that last 10 minutes of the second quarter, kind of where you thought, oh, here we go, it's going to be another barn burner all the way through.
Yeah.
Man, that punt return really just swings the momentum, gets the crowd back into the game, just turned everything. And then by the end of the half, Oregon's looking up 2 scores and sitting pretty. And then I think the Oregon defense made such great adjustments in the second half to kind of defend that passing attack that was kind of frying them in that first half. Yeah. And credit to that, mixed in with consistent offensive play, which I believe has come, is a credit to the last couple games of that offense, getting that confidence and starting to really put together both passing and running, really put together good drives and scoring opportunities. And it was just kind of a full team effort that really got the job done.
Yeah, the split between runs and passes at one point was pretty even for Oregon. So it was obvious that USC just wasn't able to figure out what Oregon was doing because of the way that Oregon was able to set up that pass with the run. And there were times where I just thought they were just going to keep going with the run. I think you even heard the TV announcers. I was watching the CBS broadcast today, and I think it was Gary Danielson, the color commentator. He's like, man, Oregon, you kind of want to split this offense and try to keep USC on their heels. But, man, they might just keep running the ball if they just keep shoving it down their throats. It was so nice to see Oregon doing what you thought that they were going to be able to do. And after that Minnesota game where they had a get-right game on offense, especially, I think that people expected them to continue to look good. And frankly, they're going to continue to need to look good if they're going to play well in the college football playoff. It's not going to be a team like Washington that they're facing. It's not going to be another middling opponent like Wisconsin. This is... I know that the defense for USC, especially on the road, hasn't been good late in the season, but this is probably more comparable to a game that you're going to play in the college football playoff than any game this season. I would even challenge that, Indiana's offense is not this good. I think we all know that. USC's offense, when they're on, they are one of the top in the nation. And I don't think, Fernando Mendoza, probably a better quarterback. Yes, Surratt is a good receiver. But if I had to pick these receivers compared to Indiana's, I'd pick the USC core all day long. I mean, there's no comparison there. So it's nice to see, but frankly, on the other side of things, Oregon gave up a lot of points on the defensive side of the ball, and that is something that I am concerned about. I don't want to get too negative here. I did open up the show saying that this was like a classic Pac-12 matchup. This was like literally vintage Pac-10 is kind of what it felt like at times. I had to kind of check. Is this 2025? Am I back in 2009? Exactly. Watching freaking Matt Leinart toss a touchdown at Autzen Stadium. Oh no, this is the Big Ten. Big Ten rivalry matchup. They had it in big letters where the Pac-12 logo used to be at Autzen Stadium. But nonetheless, Oregon gets the win, 42-27. I really don't want to focus too much on the negatives. I do think, though, that there is some concern about Oregon's secondary, at least for me. And I do want to ask Anthony Newman about that. So let's get to that. He is literally the perfect person to ask. He played defensive back at the NFL, played defensive back for Oregon, and I want to get his take on what happened tonight on some of those big plays and ask Anthony what impressed him the most about Oregon's 42-27 win over the USC Trojans to get the 10th win of the season for your number 7 Oregon Ducks. We'll get to that coming up next here on the Ducks Game Day post-game scoreboard report, but we first have to get to a Ducks Game Day weather report, as well as traffic every 10 minutes. Here's Brandon Henson.
Yeah, I-105 eastbound. Lots of slow-and-go traffic coming from Coburg Road to the I-5 North. And then on the I-5 North is going to be slow and go for a little bit as you exit Eugene. Just be an eye on that. Weather, 43 degrees in Portland. The Ducks post-game forecast calls for a high of 50 tomorrow, 60% chance for rain.
Millions of fans agree. This Christmas
To Dante Moore, put that right on the money to Malik Benson, streaking across the middle. It's got to be in stride to make it a big play, and it was.
Dick Hanna Dealerships presents the post-game scoreboard show on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
Ducky fans driving home happy tonight. 42-27 win at Autzen Stadium for their 10th win of the season. And what a win it was for Oregon. Somebody that was very busy today. Birthday Boy had the pregame mic talking about the game leading up to the kickoff at 12:30 here on 105.1 The Fan Sports Network. Anthony Newman, former Duck, former NFLer, thank you so much for taking the time. I genuinely feel like I am overstepping by asking you to come on your birthday, but I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Happy birthday. And what a freaking win for the Ducks.
Well, that's why I'm on that. Well, I think if we would have lost, I would have said, you know what, guys, no. But we won. We beat USC. Please, I'll talk about that all day long. I mean, it's, you know, I guess I'm here eating with my daughters. They came to the game with me, and it's just been a great day. And so, you know, then seeing, you know, Oregon just kick butt on USC, that was outstanding. And so we're going to top it off with some food and some dessert, and we're going to hit the road. Let the traffic die down a little bit and hit the road.
Absolutely. Did you get the T-bone? What was the dinner? What was the dinner choice?
No. I got just a little little soup and salad.
Okay.
Because because I'm a dessert man.
Oh,
so I'm gonna have this place called BJ's. They got great dessert, so I'm gonna have some. I'm gonna eat some of that later on.
oh man, you are a man after my own heart, Anthony. Like the Red Robin mud pie. Yeah, that's my go-to.
Oh
I
yeah,
absolutely
there you go.
understand.
Oh,
Well,
don't go there. Yeah, now you make me hungry for that. You're exactly right.
absolutely. Well, hey, I bet a lot of Ducks players are going to be celebrating eating some kind of yummy treats tonight because they got to be riding high after that win. It was, for me, Anthony, I've been saying it since the start of the show, the most exciting game of the season, I think, for Oregon. What impressed you most about their win today? Offensive, defense, there's certainly no shortage of things to choose from.
Really? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. I just think it was the poise of the offense. They were just every time they get out there, they had confidence saying, "Hey, USC's defense, you can't stop us. We're going to run the ball. We're going to throw the ball. We're going to do whatever we want. You can't stop us." And they couldn't. USC's defense couldn't stop Oregon's offense at all. And then I like the defense. They had a challenge today, dealing with some real good receivers, guys who are going to be playing in the NFL. Real good quarterback, good offensive line. They didn't run the ball well, and it showed. I mean, Oregon's defense took care of the run. So there's a lot of good things. But let's also talk about special teams. Special teams need to be special. And Malik Benson taking that punt return for a touchdown, that's huge. You got to have that all the time.
Yeah, I'm going to toot my own horn on that one. I said this morning on Sports Saturday, leading into your guys' Ducks Game Day program, that there was going to be a special teams touchdown today. I just felt it. It was just that kind of game, because two good offenses going at each other, the defenses might be slipping, and sometimes when the offenses, they had long runs on the field. There were a lot of long drives for both USC and Oregon. It just kind of leaves a little space for weird things to happen like they did today. So a lot of fumbles, a lot of penalties. And actually, Anthony, can I ask you really quickly about those pass interference penalties, like on both sides, frankly? Were those actually all pass interference? Like, it seemed like both teams were on top of each other very closely, which you got to do. These receivers are tops for both Oregon and USC, but that was a lot of ticky-tacky bullshit, Anthony. A lot.
Well, I have to contain myself with that. I was up in the press box watching that, and I got kind of loud when they threw those flags. I'm like, let the kids play. They're trying to play a game. Let them play. Don't be the center of attention because you're throwing these stupid flags. Let them. Yeah. Anyway, come on. That's pass interference, and I understand this. Here's the reason why. Whoever invented this game, and once it got going, and they figured out there's money involved. Okay, well, there's money involved in this game. Okay, well, we need to have people watch this game. Well, how do we do that? We make sure they score a lot of points, both teams. So how do we do that? Well, we take care of the offense. So, throw the flag. If the defense stops the offense, no, find a way, throw some flags, and let the offense keep going down the field to score. And the defense, you're playing with your hand behind your back. It is terrible. And when you have corners making good plays, now there was a couple times when the corners were grabbing too much, and I was saying that. I was telling my daughters, they're panicking. The corners are panicking too much. Don't grab on the guy. Just turn around, become the receiver, and go get the interception. But they panic. Oregon has young corners. They're going to be great. They're going to be outstanding. But they panic and also they're going against some big-time receivers with a quarterback who can put it on the money.
Man, in the third quarter, though, a couple of those, I think it was specifically on Obadegwu, the two in a row. I'm like, those aren't pass interferences.
I know.
This is normal contact. It was so frustrating to me. I hate when referees want to insinuate their presence into the game. It's like they insist that people look at them. It was just weird. So.
I can't stand it, but I'll leave it at that because otherwise I'll get too mad about that. I seriously ask my daughters. I was losing my mind. Ask Andy. I was losing my mind when those officials were throwing the flags.
Oh, I've been lucky.
Unreal.
I've been lucky enough to sit next to you in the press box, Anthony. I am right there with you, having to contain the reactions, either positive or negative. And shouting an F-bomb down the Ducks press row at Autzen is not something that I want to be known for. God, that jerk Schultze, he just talks too much. No. Anyways, so let's get into, Anthony, the weapons that USC I would say did lean on today, at times very successfully, but Oregon was able to contain Mekhi Lemon yards-wise. Didn't keep him out of the end zone, though. How does a defense typically contain such great guys like a Mekhi Lemon and a Jacoby Lane? And really, can you? Or are you just okay with a guy like Chinook Hines ending up beating you on a massive yardage kind of day like he did? Like, is that just kind of something that with such talented numbers 1 and 2 wide receivers that you have to do? Like, the number 3 or some unknown guy is just going to beat you, and that's okay?
Well, here's the deal. Greatness, you have great players. You're not going to stop a great football player. That's why he's great. That's what no one can stop him. So he's going to get his. He's going to, get his 8 catches for 145 yards, 100 maybe 60 yards, whatever. But you just can't. You have to be consistent with everybody else. You can't let everybody else beat you. Yes, USC has 2 great receivers. They're NFL type receivers. They're going to be playing in the NFL, and they're going to give the corners in the NFL a hard time. That's the way it is. There's nothing you can do. You can try to contain them and not allow it to happen too often. But here's who helped the Oregon defense and the DBs is the Oregon offense, because they kept putting points on the board. They kept scoring. And now USC's offense, they're starting to panic. They're thinking, I got to take shots. We got to throw the football. And then the more you start taking shots, the more you may make some mistakes like they did and get the interceptions or the sacks or the fumble. That's what happens when an offense is pressed. And the offense was pressed because of the Oregon offense scoring all the time.
We're talking to former Duck and former NFL defensive back Anthony Newman. Anthony, I want to dive a little bit deeper into Oregon's secondary. They didn't look good at times today. I understand that these guys are very good, but they also didn't look good against Indiana, and their receivers are good, but slightly less talented than USC. Like, I get it. USC has elite talent. Everybody here, I acknowledge this, right? But I think you know this, Anthony. This type of elite talent is what Oregon is going to see in the college football playoff. I don't know if you saw, Alabama beat some no-name today 56-0. Those are the kinds of teams that the Ducks are going to go up against come December. Can this secondary truly handle some of those better teams in the nation? I still have some questions about that.
Well, it's not about just the secondary. It's the whole team. So as a football team, you win as a team. And when you have a department, a component, whatever, that's struggling, you're going to get some help from the special teams, from the offense, from the defensive line, getting to the quarterback. So Oregon has young corners. They're very young. They're babies. A redshirt freshman, junior. They're so young. But they can play the game, and they will get some, and they will get burned, okay? But then you have to have a supporting cast to help those young corners out or those young safeties out. Yep. And that's by, a front 7, defensive line, getting to the quarterback. That's by special teams. Malik Benson, taking a punt return for a touchdown. That's going to happen with the offense. No one can stop the offense. If the offense keeps scoring points, you're really going to help those DBs because, again, you're creating a lot of pressure for that opposing offense to get points. So, yes, these young guys are going to get beat, but they're good players. They're great players, I should say. They're going to make some plays, and they're going to learn from this experience and get better. But, yes, they're young. They may get beat from time to time.
Yeah, definitely a younger quarterback there, and it's nice to see. Thankfully, I'm not sure they would have had such a successful day unless a guy like Jaden Kennedy, who is an older guy, who is a senior, but unexpected contributions from a guy like him coming in and helping. And you're right, Anthony, talking about the whole team. Actually, let's shift to the front 7. Uyunglele and Tatum Tuioti today were exactly as advertised. They lead the team in sacks. They have the most sacks between the two, and they're 2 of the better edge and linebacker guys in the nation. Just talk about the pressure that they were putting on Maava. They made his day a lot harder, and frankly, I think one reason that Oregon did win today was because they were able to pressure Maava so much, even though he did have 300 yards, but he was 25 of 4-3. There were a lot of incompletions with the 2 picks. He was on his horse, and it did not look good at times.
Thank you. He threw a lot of footballs, a lot of incompletions, some interceptions, and that's because of the front seven. That's because of the edge rushers, guys up inside. You're collapsing that pocket for the quarterback, or you're flushing him out of the pocket, and now his feet are not set and throwing bad balls. A cornerback's best friend is the defensive lineman. They're getting to the quarterback. They're making the quarterback speed up his process, trying to throw the ball in tight spaces. Can't do it. So as a corner or as a safety, you need all the help you can from the guys up front. And the guys up front for Oregon front seven, they're outstanding. Jerry Mixon dropping back in coverage, covering running backs out of the backfield and making a tackle, with a guy in space, a running back in space, and you got a linebacker, Jerry Mixon, 6'3", about 245, running like the wind, and making an open field tackle on a running back or a receiver. That's big time. That's the front seven helping the back end out.
And Anthony, final question here. By the way, I was looking at your prediction, man. 38-28.
Yep.
You were pretty damn close, Anthony. 42-27 was the win, but I would say that you're a field goal and a safety away, my friend. That ain't bad at all. But Dante Moore looking good once again today, not going over 300 yards. But man, you heard Gary Danielson and Brad Nessler talking about it on the broadcast. He looked poised. He never looked like he had trouble. There was that fumble on the snap, but outside of that moment, I didn't think he looked nervous at all today. And that does, on the other side of things, as far as worrying about the secondary, what the offense and Dante Moore today did gives me hope that they can continue this into December. What say you?
That's right. And when you're going against an Alabama, you're going against a Notre Dame, you have that offense. You got that offense to lean on. You have Dante Moore to lean on as the quarterback who touches the ball every offensive snap. That is big time. The guy, he's always even keeled. He doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. He's very supportive of his teammates. Make some bad throws, and then all of a sudden, hey, no big deal. I'm going to come back the next play. It's always about the next play. We tell our kids that all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, don't get sad. Don't get flustered over you made a mistake. Go to the next play. You got 60 plays. Offense usually get about 60 plays. Defense gets about 60 plays. There's a lot more plays left in this game, and you move on. And that's what Dante Moore does. And then Dante Moore had some serious help by the offensive line. Offensive line that's beat up, but still did a great job protecting him. And then the running back crew, come on. This running back crew is ridiculous. You got two freshmen, D. Hill and Jordan Davison. Come on. This running back crew is ridiculous. And then you bring the senior, Noah Winnington. I don't think there's a running back crew better than this in the country than our three. I'm telling you that right now.
Absolutely not. Well, they didn't even have to use transfer Mekhi Becton. Like he's gonna leave. Yeah. Yes, this is by far they are 5, 6, 7 deep in the Oregon running back room, and that's another reason why they had the win today. Kenyon Sadiq coming back as well, but just contributions all around really give me a lot of confidence about the offense going forward, Anthony. And sounds like it gives you that same confidence as well. So appreciate you, man. Thank you so much once again. Happy birthday. Go celebrate that and the Ducks 42-27 win over USC, my friend. You deserve it.
Hey, thank you. I'll have a lot of fun. I'll eat some dessert for you tonight, okay?
Please do. Right? Yeah. Find some extra chocolately cake for me, man. That's that's my jam. Appreciate you.
Sounds good. Hey, I appreciate it.
All right, get home safe. Wave at him as he goes. Former Duck, former NFL defensive back Anthony Newman checking in. Liked a lot of what he saw from Oregon today, and have to say, I agree with all the points that he made. I understand. It is a team effort against a really good USC offense, against really good teams in the college football playoff. If Oregon somehow does make the quarterfinals, it's going to obviously be a team effort against an Ohio State, against maybe a rematch against Indiana once again, sort of thing. But man, I'm excited, but I still got some questions. But I'm like 90% happy about this. Okay,
can you for once just save your nitpicks for the day after?
No,
and just celebrate the win.
It is literally my job.
You're probably the only one that I know of that is just straight to the nitpicks right after a win.
I want the Ducks to win a national championship. Is that a problem? I want them to be the best.
Absolutely. I'm just speaking from probably the other Duck fans listening right now. We got the win.
Oh yeah. What did I say? I'm like 90-10. There were a lot of penalties today, man.
I know
Some of them were actual penalties.
Yes, I agree with that. I feel you.
All right. You know what? I'll breathe. I'll digress during this traffic and weather report that you're giving here in a second,
and then
Brandon.
Bring back more nitpicks later.
I
know you got a couple more still in your back pocket. Right?
I don't think I do.
Yeah,
it's just the secondary. I really was happy with
There it
Oregon's win today, man. I really was. And all right, you know what? Let's take a break. We'll get to your traffic and weather, and let's go to someone who I know, listening to his interviews with the coaches and players in the postgame, somebody named Dusty Hara that I know is very happy with today's win. He was on the sideline during Oregon's 42-27 beatdown over USC. We'll get his take on what happened down at Autzen Stadium today coming up next. But first, it's Brandon Henson with another Game Day traffic and weather report every 10 minutes.
I-105 eastbound, lots of slow and go traffic from Coburg Road to the I-5 North, and then on I-5 North, more stop and start, leaving Eugene with road work on the back end of it. Further up the I-5, more slow and go as you pass Salem. On the I-5 southbound, there is a crash just past Franklin Boulevard, causing some backup as well. 43 degrees in Portland. The Ducks postgame forecast calls for a high of 50 tomorrow, 60% chance for rain.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Or are they promising you up to
Here's that one-man hit to McClellan. Gets by a first tackle. Inside the 30. Falls to the 15-yard line. Made the first man miss. Jeremiah McClellan. Yards after catch. That was big right there.
Yeah, one-on-one. Me versus you, and he beat him.
Dick Hanna Dealerships presents the Postgame Scoreboard Show on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
The Ducks getting a 42-27 win over USC, number 10 on the season, and most likely guaranteeing them a spot. Well, they got to take care of business against Washington next week, but it's looking good for Oregon getting into the college football playoff. And we got a lot more to get into about this game, and helping us do that is sideline reporter and 105.1 The Fan's own Dusty Hara on his way back from Austin on this very foggy drive along I-5. Dusty, thanks for taking the time, man. Appreciate you. I got to start, this game had such an old, not even Pac-12, but vintage Pac-10 feel with all the scoring and the long shots by both teams. I seriously was like, am I in 2009? I don't know if you had a point in your mind where you were forgetting what year it was, but that was such a fun trip down memory lane for me. It just felt like vintage Pac-10 football.
Yeah, I mean, it was shot for shot at times, that's for sure. And I think that what we've seen is that, both teams have kind of assimilated to Big Ten football as well. I mean, they're taking their shots deep, and it was a relatively high-scoring game, especially for, Big Ten standards. But you saw both teams bow their back when they needed to, and that is kind of that assimilating to Big Ten culture in a couple of years. But it did have that little throwback feel of, oh boy, we're back to the old days.
Let's talk about the back and forth of that one, Dusty. It, in the second quarter, seemed a little hairy, and then again in the third quarter. There was a huge momentum shift with that Benson punt return for touchdown, but was there any point in the game where you thought USC was going to come out on top? I just thought that the momentum was swinging into their favor, and it just kind of felt like one of those uh-oh situations that we've seen for Oregon before.
Yeah, I don't know if there was ever a moment that I was like, Oregon's going to lose this game, because we have seen this Oregon team, have games where it's like they should put this team away, right? The Iowa game comes to mind.
Yeah.
The game was in the first half, right? Whereas are they just going to are they going to put them away eventually? And it took a little bit longer against Wisconsin. They never really did it against Iowa until the very end. But, there was that feeling of, it wasn't like they were going to lose, but it was, okay, now's the time where you can put them away. Now's the time that you can put them away, and that just never happened. But anytime USC would score, Oregon answered, right? So they got to stop early in the game, and they go up 2 scores. From that point on, it was like every time USC scored, they got an answer right back, and there was always that cushion. It was like a pendulum swinging back and forth, but USC never had the upper hand outside of that opening drive. And I said it on the broadcast, and it rang true throughout the game in that, where USC attacked Oregon effectively on the opening drive, those are correctable things. And Oregon did correct a lot of those. If you go back and you look at the way that USC was able to sustain drives, I mean, there were some questionable pass interference calls. There were some pass interference calls that were justified, obviously, but just chucking the ball up deep or throwing a prayer for Maeva when Bear Alexander almost gets him and throws into coverage and the receiver comes up with an incredible play, that's not out scheming them, right? There's an element of luck to that, and they got a couple of those lucky draws. But so, no, I never thought that, Oregon was in a position to lose, but it was all right, don't let them hang around. Don't give them any hope. And they did for a little bit, especially kind of that early fourth quarter score. But then Oregon answers with a 11-play, 79-yard death march that takes 6 minutes off the clock. And it was yeah, they're not winning this game. USC doesn't have a chance to win this football game.
Absolutely, man. Those long drives, I think, were the tail of the game for both teams, really. It saved defenses. It gave them breaks, but it just, it seemed like just a back-and-forth matchup at points, and that's kind of what was making me a little nervous. But I want to ask you about the college football playoff, but first, I don't want to skip over, Husky Hate Week. Washington v. Oregon. It's a historical matchup. It's the Big Ten rivalry for the Oregon Ducks now that they are in the conference separate from Oregon State. Do you think that tonight's performance, what I guess better way to ask, what travels from tonight's performance up to Seattle? And if they don't show up, to open the game strong like they have the past 2 weeks. Will they struggle against Washington? Because I think on offense, Dusty, they look like the team that we expect them to be, but on defense, there's still a couple of questions.
Yeah, I'm more confident in the defense than I am, with the offense, just because of the attrition offensively.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you think of scoring 42 points with largely 3 reserve offensive linemen. That's saying something. Isaiah World did not start the game. He played sparingly, but down the stretch, he didn't. You lose Pancho Lalaulo looked like he got rolled up on. Alex Harkey goes down. Janoris Wilson's still not playing. There's a lot of attrition on that offensive line, but Dan Lanning always says next man up, and they were still able to move the ball. And as you get against better defenses, that's not going to be the case, right? Like USC they lack depth there. And then that's not even to mention, DeCorian Moore being out and Gary Bryant Jr. being out, and watching Gary Bryant Jr. go and get his senior day recognition. It did not look like Gary Bryant Jr. is close to being back anytime soon, right? He had a significant limp still. Those things are questions that you have. And so we don't know how that depth is going to kind of take over. One thing that is absolutely 100% bona fide, Kenyon Sadiq is a dude offensively. Dante Moore is steady and just is taking what they give him. His interception was the one time that you just said, what was he seeing there? Because force it across the middle, and great play, but Kenyon that pick. But when you have a quarterback that is as good as Dante Moore, and I'm going to take that because it is within the context of the flow of a game, and they still showed really good balance with 179 on 257 through the air. I think that is the key to winning for this Oregon team. I do think that the offense is good enough to get you over the hump, but I worry about the attrition and how long some of these injuries are going to be.
Yeah.
Because, look, making a playoff run, injury luck is a big role in that, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get lucky in that.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's a little frustrating, but and to that point about the Dante Moore interception, I mean, guys that take shots, guys that take risks, that's going to happen every once in a while. That doesn't really concern me too much. He just threw it into coverage. It is what it is. So, that one didn't really throw me off too much. All right, you know what, then okay, I won't skip ahead to the college football playoff, Dusty. That's a little too early to look ahead. I need to ask you to finish up. What the heck was with all the flags today, man? The game was full of refereeing. I know that, calls every single game can go either way. There were some questionables for both teams, man. I brought it up to Anthony, but no worse, in my opinion, than those 2 pass interference calls in the fourth quarter in a row on Oregon. Like, what the heck were they doing? It looked like normal hands, action between 2 guys. It was just ticky-tacky, in my opinion.
I 100% agree. I thought that there were some significant push-offs from USC receivers that weren't called, and actually defensive pass interference was called. It's one of those things, though, that, like, Oregon's defensive backs are handsy, and they are. But at the same time, mutual hand fighting does not mean defensive pass interference. And there were a few of those throughout the course of the game. And the critical situations in which they happened, like having the back-to-back ones, I think the second one, yes. The first one, no. And then to flip it on the other side where, USC was there was 2 times on the final drive for Oregon where Noah Whittington's head got spun around on a face mask call, and they weren't calling it. That's where you go, all right, come on, at least be consistent. If this is going to be a flag happy game, make it a flag happy game. But there were a few of those calls where I was just like, okay, I don't know what's going on. I don't think anybody has it out for Oregon. I just think that, in the moment, though, because it's not like USC didn't have a ton of penalties too.
Totally.
But in the moment, a couple of them were really head scratching as to how they came up with that call in that moment. Now, I do think that two of Oregon's penalties, where you had the Dave Iuli finishing off a run, and then you had the Malik Benson unsportsmanlike for celebrating, that was to pull back the game and get it back into control. So those two I definitely agree with, and I get, because that was on the heels of Jacoby Lane coming over and starting a fight on Oregon's sideline, which was a wild move.
I know.
For him to try and rip the ball away from Kennedy. But they were trying to control the game at that point. Some of the other calls, I don't know. I was just as confused as you were, man.
I appreciate your honesty, Dusty. I don't know. That might be the best response to an answer, or an answer to a question that I've ever had, man. Oh my God. 233 yards total penalties.
Things, though, where it was one of those things though where you're just sitting there and you're like, I guess this is how this game's gonna go. Let's go. And I thought, in those moments, though, I thought Oregon's defense responded pretty well, because one thing that you see often, and this is what I will give Dan Lanning a ton of credit for, and he actually talked about it on primetime when he came on with Isaac and Suk this week, is like, maybe I should be yelling at the officials more. Maybe I should work the officials a little bit more, because obviously it works. But one thing that I love about the way that the team operates is that when those penalties happen and they go against you, how often have we seen a drive just completely dissolve because players throw their hands up and they start complaining to the officials? And no, it's just like they're just back to the next play, and they're saying, all right, I guess we're going to have to just fight through this. I do appreciate that about this Oregon team, because it's really easy to let those kind of calls affect you and let it drag on throughout the course of the game.
Yeah, Dan Lanning was not happy with Malik Benson after that taunting call. He had a little bit of a Mario Cristobal moment without the headset slam, and frankly, I was okay with it. So, but you're right. I do understand that the refs were trying to get the game back in hand at that point, and what a game it was, Dusty. Oh my goodness! Thankfully, I think we almost for sure know that this will not be the last home game of the season at Autzen, but for senior night, for this matchup against USC, man, 42-27, the way that it went, in my opinion, the most exciting game of the season. I think Oregon fans got everything they asked for. So thanks for coming on, man. Thanks for helping us break it down. And great job, great call. It was so fun listening to you. You could tell that you were having a lot of fun down there, man. So thanks again for coming on, Dusty. Get home safe, sir.
You got it, man. It was a blast to call that game, and it was good to see Oregon get a double-digit victory against a ranked opponent, and a highly ranked opponent. Like, the playoff committee told us with this past week's rankings that a win for USC would have put them in playoff position. So I think that Oregon winning by 2 scores in a game like this, I mean, that's going to go a long way. The committee was waiting for Oregon to win a game like this.
Yeah.
Now, was it nerve-wracking at times? Absolutely. But that's what happens when you play a good team, and Oregon ends up winning by 2 scores. I think that is the message that the committee was looking for, and hopefully, the Ducks can kind of push through all the other noise that's going to come out there in this final week of the regular season.
Hell yeah. Despite some of the bad things today, man, Oregon showing the committee what they needed to, and I think that's the ultimate win that Duck fans were looking for. All right, appreciate you, Dusty. Seriously, man, get home safe and enjoy the rest of your weekend, man.
All right, great job by you guys, too. I mean, I know you guys are shorthanded today, but you guys are pushing through, and hope Joe Fish is healthy and back. Enjoy listening to the show. Thank you.
Hey, appreciate you, Dusty. We're actually going
Dusty.
to check in with Joe Fisher next. He's going to come on, give us his take on how the game went. I'm sure he was, despite not feeling great, was absolutely yelling at the TV at times like I was. So let's check in with normal host of this show, Joe Fisher, here on 105.1 The Fan Sports Network. Coming up next, he's going to give his opinion on the Ducks' 42-27 win over USC. But first, it's another Ducks Game Day traffic and weather report. It's every 10 minutes from Brandon Henson.
I-105 eastbound, still slow and go traffic from Coburg Road to the I-5 north, and then getting on I-5 north, more stop and start leaving Eugene. Further up the I-5, still some slow and go as you pass Salem. I-5 southbound, just past Franklin Boulevard, there is a crash there. It looks like the traffic is cleared up around it, but there's still police cars on the scene. Weather, 43 degrees in Portland right now. The Ducks postgame forecast calls for a high of 50 tomorrow, 60% chance for rain.
Dick Hanna Dealerships presents the Postgame Scoreboard Show on the Fan Sports Network. Dick Hanna, believe in nice.
Whittington behind him in that pistol. Here's first and goal. Back to throw off play action. Throw to the end zone. Touchdown, Oregon. Kenyon Sadiq. What the pressure of Dante Moore. He stood there and knew that he had Sadiq. Just had to get it to him, and he did.
Time for the second half. Oregon Ducks football on the Fan is brought to you by Coors Light, Dick Hanna Dealerships, Philbrook Law, Zoom Care, Bellagio's Pizza, Langdon Farms Golf Club, Wilsonville Toyota, Mountaintop Metal Roofing, Victor Rico's Mexican Food, Legends Casino Hotel, Mods PDX, and Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. The Dick Hanna Dealerships post-game scoreboard show on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app. Drives on. Here's your hosts, Joe Fisher and Jordan Schultz.
The most exciting game of the season for Oregon. What a win, 42-27 over USC. Welcome back to the Ducks postgame scoreboard show here on 105.1 The Fan and the Fan Sports Network. So many things to break down, so many positives to break down. We'll talk about them. We're talking about all the great things the running backs did. Kenyon Sadiq, 2 touchdowns, a lot of over-the-top catches, so many awesome things. Dante Moore looking poised in the pocket another day. The front seven pressuring Jaden Mayava. So many great things to talk about, and let's get to somebody that wants to talk about those good things, and that is the normal host of Ducks Postgame. That is Joe Fisher, hanging out at home, a little sick today, so trust me, I get it, man. I had to miss a couple of days last week myself, but appreciate you still toughing up and calling in, man. I think that this was the most exciting game of Oregon's season. What say you, sir?
It was really exciting. I mean, I may need a few other, remedies to make me feel 100%, but this win made me feel just a little bit better today. I mean, it was definitely exciting. I think when the first quarter started, we got into one possession for each team, and I said to my girlfriend, I was watching the game with, I was like, I am so nervous already. It was a really exciting game, good back and forth, and then kind of seemed like towards the second half, the end of the first half is where the Ducks started to pull away there. Really weird final offensive possession where they made a big pass to Malik Benson, and then he's at the 5, but then gets a 15-yard penalty back, and then there's another penalty that moves them back a little bit more, and then they are able to actually end up getting out of there with a touchdown.
Yeah.
But what really made me happy about this game today was, and it's like the theme of the year is depth, and we have seen it in different position groups seemingly week to week. And this was the first game where we saw the depth of the offensive linemen, which, as we all know, as football fans, as people that watch football, you go into your second, third, fourth stringers, and things can get ugly real quickly. And that did not happen at all for this Ducks team. I mean, Fox Crater, local kid, Evergreen High School up there in Washington, he comes in and starts the game for Isaiah World at left tackle.
Yeah.
Very early in the game, Poncho goes down, and Charlie Pickard has to go in, and then Harkey goes down for a bit, and Kavika Rogers has to come in. And that play right after Harkey went down, Kavika Rogers went in, they had a beautiful pocket for Dante Moore to throw a touchdown to Kenyon Sadiq. There was no sacks. There was the one pick, but I want to put that on the offensive line. I think Dante was just a little confused on who he was throwing that to. But that's what stood out to me was just in that final drive where they went up by 2 touchdowns. I think that's what made it 42-27. That was just the offensive line saying, we're going to go win this game. And it's shout out to the guys that we haven't said their names a lot this year. But that's what made me the most happiest and excited about this game was the depth showing itself, but in a different unit.
What did you think that Oregon showed the College Football Playoff Committee? I was just talking with Dusty Hara about that, and the kind of the weight that the committee has had to see, Oregon at their best. Not only an exciting game, but I mean, scoring 42 points against a team like USC and their great wide receivers. That this is the exact kind of game that Oregon can say to the rest of the nation, like, "Yo, look at us, we here."
Yeah, no, it was a prove-it game for not just the Ducks, obviously, but the country to see, are they going to play down to a team that is lower ranked, that is maybe not as good as them, and they didn't. They were the better team all day, and I mean, there were mistakes. It was ugly. It was sloppy at times. I mean, how many penalties? 11 for 130. Now, granted, USC, they had, I think, 9 for 103 yards or something. So, it's kind of an ugly game all around. But what I think Oregon did was proved that they can get it done in all phases of the game. Offensively, you saw it today with Dante Moore's performance, the running back room again, and then again, offensive line. Just want to keep going to those guys because the dudes to be able to step up and play like they did, it was just amazing. Defensively, yeah, it was rough in the secondary, but I think that USC, I mean, their game plan was basically like, let's just chuck the ball up and they either catch it or we're going to get a PI. And it seemed like the rest were ready to throw the flag at any opportunity on the Ducks secondary. Which
no kidding.
It was just like, it seemed like they were reaching for the pocket every single time. But then the run game as well, defensively speaking, like holding USC to, I think, a total of 1.9 yards per rush. I mean, that run defense is just nasty. And then you get the punt return touchdown, a nice little cherry on top to just basically win at all three phases of the game. And he made more plays. You just were the better team overall. And I think it was a statement victory saying we didn't play our best and we still beat the number 15 team in the country by 15. And it never looked like it was really close between these two teams the entire time.
I was a little nervous, though, Joe, in the second quarter when you talk about that Malik Benson punt return happening for Tutty. It was tied at that point, and thankfully, by half, Oregon was up by 2 scores, and, USC never got closer than a score again. And that was, that buffer of 2 scores, thankfully, is what kept it easier for Oregon going into the fourth quarter. But was that play like the flip of the entire night? I do feel like if Oregon was going in, and even if they got that Bryce Betcher TD, going into the end of the first half, like that would have been a 21-14 lead, sure. But this is kind of what I'm saying. Like that 2-score buffer is what Oregon needed. And who knows if they would have gotten that touchdown near the half. Like that play for me was the game changer. I don't know if you were so excited at that point, because it sounds like you never thought Oregon was going to lose. But for me, it was just like that play flipped the entire night, Joe.
Yeah, it did. I mean, you're right. Like, you're in the second quarter, it's tied 14-14. USC at that point had scored on a couple of possessions. I think 2 out of 3 of their possessions already. So it's like, all right, is Oregon's defense going to be able to make a stop? And they were able to hold him to a punt, which Malik Benson ran back and totally changed the momentum. And then the very next possession on defense, they're able to get an interception and set the team up with pretty solid field possession, and then capitalize on that drive by scoring a touchdown to make it a 2-possession game. So, I mean, that's where – and then you get the missed field goal, the chip shot from the USC
yeah, the doinker.
Like, right before halftime, I'm just like, okay, like momentum is completely in the Ducks' favor right now. But the second half starts, and there's a couple possessions. The turnover on downs to start. You get an interception, and then give the ball right back on interception, which USC is able to capitalize on. But what was great is when USC made it a one-possession game, 28-21, Oregon did start to respond every time that it seemed like USC was getting close. That's when they got the Dante Moore touchdown to Kenyon Sadiq over the middle. And then the fourth quarter, when USC brought it into with an 8, they have the long 11-play drive, 79 yards, take 6 minutes off the clock, and just execute. Like, in a game where it seemed like they weren't taking advantage of their opportunities, the times in the second quarter where it was time for them to show up, they did exactly that. And so I had confidence they were going to pull it out just from the way that they were looking in all facets of the game. And again, the moments in the second half where it really was like, okay, it's put up or shut up time. We cannot let them get back into this and tie this game. They didn't allow that to happen. So a lot of things to clean up. But again, I think under the circumstances of a somewhat sloppy game, put up 42 points. You beat USC, which is always great. Number 15 team in the country. I mean, it's just I can't complain too much other than the penalties. And I'm sure Dan will have a fun film session talking about those.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, one penalty in particular, man, when Dan Lanning just went off on Malik Benson after that taunting call. Yeah, had a little, as I just said to Dusty, a little Mario Cristobal moment there. Holy yes.
Well, it's just silly, man. It's just like, I was freaking out, and my lovely girlfriend, she just sees me in these moments with the Ducks where she's like, oh my God, this guy's a psychopath. But I see that happen, and I'm just like, what? I was like, you just made a huge play, Malik Benson. Like,
you don't lean over the dude.
That says enough right there. Like, you don't need to stand over and taunt. Like, you just put your team in the red zone, and now you're back 15 yards. So it just, that kind of stuff drives me crazy. But again, the Ducks, that was an adversity moment where the team was like, all right, well, let's just get right back in there and score a touchdown, and that could have cost them points, but it didn't. They were able to rally and make it that 2-touchdown game before halftime. So yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that will bite you against better opponents in the playoffs. You just got to be smarter. But I do want to give props to Malik Benson, because I want to talk about a guy that's had to step up with some of the injuries.
No kidding.
Beginning of the year, I think he put a lot of pressure on himself. It's like, hey, this is my third team now. I need to start showing up and, making a name for myself. And with these injuries, I feel like he's done that, and he did it today.
So next week, Oregon's final game of the regular season, the I-5 rivalry. Oregon heads up the I-5 corridor to visit the Washington Huskies. Husky Hate Week going on here, and it's going to be a crazy one. Looking at the early line, they have Oregon favored, but only by 7.5, Joe. I'm kind of shocked. That's less than what they were favored by USC for, but obviously it's a rivalry game. I don't expect Oregon to have much trouble, but it sounds like they're going to need every horse that they have in their stable for next week. It's not going to be an easy game. Do you expect them to be able to show up like they did against USC come next week against Washington?
I definitely think so. I mean, I don't know what the weather is supposed to look like, but that's the great thing about Oregon is they've shown that they can get it done regardless of weather. I personally just think this defense against Washington's offense this year, when they face a good defense, they are not the same. It is like Jekyll and Hyde, that offense. It's like when they're playing a Rutgers defense or something, you got Damon Williams putting up video game numbers, but then when they have to play an actual good defense, Ohio State, something like that, they put up 6 points. I mean, they put up, 10 points against Wisconsin, for God's sakes. Like, I have a lot of confidence that Oregon is going to be able to go up in Seattle and just own this game. I really don't think that, like, if it is 6.5 and a half, what you're saying, get on it now. Get on it now, because it's going to be a big win for Oregon. I feel like they know what's ahead of them. They know what this game means. And I just think that Oregon is infinitely better than Washington, and especially when it comes to Oregon's defense going against Washington's offense. Give me Oregon's defense 10 times out of 10.
I think my degenerate ass is going to follow your advice and go hit that betting line right now. Because now that you mention it, it is going to go up to like 9.5 or 10.5, Joe. I think that's very true. So yeah, go get it now. Great advice, Joe. All right, I'm following you. All right, Matt, appreciate you. I'm going to let you go. Get better. We'll see you next week so you can be here for the final regular season game against the Huskies here on 105.1 The Fan and the Fan Sports Network. Go Duckies, Joe, and go get some rest, man. Thanks for coming on.
I will do so. Thank you, Jordan. Probably won't see you until next weekend, so have a great Thanksgiving. Great Thanksgiving to all the Ducks fans out there, all the listeners. Travel safely these holidays, and we will catch you next Saturday.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Joe. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody else out there. What a win. What a nice Thanksgiving present for you Oregon Duck fans. A 42-27 win over the number 15 USC Trojans. All right, let's get out to break. When we come back, we'll examine Dirt and Anthony's picks from earlier today. I'll react from my own pick that I gave here on Recruiting with Andrew Nemec on Thursday here on 105.1 The Fan Sports Network, and we'll look at some of the box score stats as well. But first, we need to get to another traffic and weather report every 10 minutes. Here's Brandon Henson.
Dusty here for Mountain.
It's coming. It's coming.
Okay, I'm ready now.
There you go.
Here we go. All right, I-105 eastbound, still slow and go traffic heading to the I-5. There is also now an accident in that area as well, so just be on the lookout for that. I-5 northbound, more stop and start buildup, leaving Eugene and into Coburg. Further up the I-5, still some slow and go as you pass Salem. I-5 southbound, just past Franklin Boulevard. There was a crash. Looks like the traffic has cleared up around it, but there's still some police cars on the scene and also another cop car just past 30th Avenue. Weather is currently 43 degrees in Portland. The Ducks postgame forecast calls for a high of 50 tomorrow, 60% chance of rain, as well as some rain overnight.
Dusty here for Mountaintop Metal Roofing. Fall is here, and one thing I'm not worried about is
is intercepted. Ominego with a pick into coverage. Georgie, you said it. He's been throwing some balls, hoping this guy would get it. That time it was an Oregon guy who got it.
Dick Hanna Dealerships presents the Postgame Scoreboard Show on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
Yeah, Obadegwu with one of the 2 interceptions for Oregon on defense today. Jaden Kennedy stepping up, this senior that's had a nice late season surge for Oregon on the defensive end, coming up big earlier in the game as well, contributing to Oregon's 42-27 win over USC down at Autzen Stadium, their 10th win of this season on Senior Day, and more likely than not cementing their spot in the college football playoffs. Still got to take care of business against Washington next week just to make sure you put the cherry on top of your season if you are the Oregon Ducks. But A lot of hope coming into today's game, and I think all that hope and all of those positive thoughts paid off for Duck fans. Looking at the pregame score predictions coming into today, see what Dirt and Anthony had. I think Anthony Newman, former Duck and former NFL defensive back, won with his pick of 38-28 Oregon. He was damn close, man. Just a few points, basically a field goal off on Oregon's end. I didn't think Oregon was going to score that many points, so credit to Anthony. He thought they were going a little higher, closer to 40. USC, he had them scoring 28. They scored 27. So there you go. And the only reason they didn't score 28 was because they went for two, because they were down by 2 tutties to Oregon in the fourth quarter when they did score. Missed that 2-point conversion as the tight end kind of dropped it over his head in the back of the end zone. So yeah, Anthony would have been right on with that score. But Dirt also close, 38-24. Kind of thought that was going to be a field goal in that score. I did as well. So Dirt was very close. I thought today's score was going to be 35-20. So I was actually way off. I was the worst pick out of those three, and frankly, it was only because I didn't think either team was going to score as much. The over-under total, I mentioned this going into today's game, it was 55.5 when the betting lines opened up, Brandon, and by kickoff, it was 59.5. So a lot of people looking at the high-powered offense for USC, and Oregon's great offense. Even though receivers are down, they still got Kenyon Sadiq. They still have Malik Benson. You heard Dusty Harris say no Gary Bryant Jr. for a while. Does not seem to matter. Everybody, including Vegas, expected both teams to put up a lot of points, and they did. And frankly, man, 42-20. What is that? 69 total. They killed that over/under. They absolutely slapped that. So predictions by Dirt and Anthony really good. I didn't think that they were going to score as much, Brandon. So credit to the Duckies for outpacing my thoughts that they were going to do.
Yeah, I think going into it, I think you anticipated both offenses doing well. I don't think you anticipated them doing that well that quickly right out of the gate. But yeah, high scoring, back and forth, and it seemed like neither defense had an answer. And then I feel like I said earlier, that late second quarter is kind of where that tide turned. That's kind of where the defense made a couple adjustments that worked to kind of slow down USC. And then going off of that into the second half, I thought their defensive adjustments were exactly what they needed to kind of keep that buffer zone of that 2-score lead away. Had some great picks, great play by the secondary. They're very impressive. Like, they weren't even like gimme interceptions either. They went up and got those interceptions. Like, it was super impressive to see the defense respond to how that offense was attacking them early. And yeah, just you love seeing the high scoring. You love seeing it. Definitely love seeing it when it's in Oregon's favor. And I thought the offense really built off that momentum they had last week against Minnesota, and just feels like that offense is clicking at just the right time, going right into the last game. I think they'll do the same against Washington. And then going into the playoff, I feel really good about how Oregon's offense is looking, especially coming off. I mean, there was a time, going through Iowa and Wisconsin that, we're not sure where this offense looks like. But now they're just rolling, and it feels like it's going to keep going that way for sure.
Yeah, Ducks over 400 yards today. Pretty similar count for rushes versus passes. And then as far as the yards go, 257 yards passing, 179 yards rushing. Looking at the first downs for Oregon, 26 compared to 23 for USC, 7 of 12 on third down conversions, v 7 of 15 for USC. Funny stat, USC won the fourth down battle, 2 of 4. I don't know, maybe the losing of the other two maybe means they didn't, but Oregon, the only one that they went for, they didn't convert. That was, I actually loved that call. That was on their own side of the field. That was when Salapeaga jumped in with that, like, trick play of Dante Moore looking to the sideline for a play call, and then Salapeaga is coming across like he's running, like, there's just motion before a play. Nope, under center, tried to run it, but that was, I think, 2 or 3 inches short. So that was the one fourth down that Oregon did not convert. 6.1 yards average per play compared to 5.3 for USC. And USC, very good in the red zone, 3 of 4 today. The miss was that field goal doink. So I would just call it like 3-3. Like, that was just a weird finish to that drive. But hey, Oregon hold them scoreless, so good for them on the defensive side. And Oregon was 4-4 in the red zone. Huge, huge stat for them. They need to keep doing that going into December if they want to compete in the quarterfinals of the college football playoff. 6 tackles for loss and 1 sack for Oregon as well, compared to USC, only 2 tackles for loss and 0 sacks on Dante Moore. The defensive side of the ball, too, just an absolute, well, really quickly, going over some individual stats on the offense before we get to the defense. Dante Moore, 22 of 30, 257 yards, 2 tutties, and that 1 pick. Just threw it into coverage. Bad decision, but didn't affect the day. Hey, you want your quarterback to take chances, okay? I'm okay with that. I'd be fine with that any day of the week. Noah Whittington leading the charge rushing-wise, 19 attempts, 104 yards, and a tutty, averaging 5.5 yards a carry. Jordan Davison had another touchdown as well, 13 attempts and 15 yards. De'Aaron Hill Jr., he had 4 carries and 28 yards. Bryce Betcher contributing a touchdown. They brought the Wildcat formation in, and he just ran it in himself from about 1 yard outside of the goal line. That is his rushing line as an Oregon Duck now. 1 attempt, 1 yard for 1 touchdown. Kenyon Sadiq, 6 catches for 72 yards and 2 tutties. Malik Benson, 4 catches, 67 yards. You also had Noah Whittington out on the receiving game as well. I love seeing this when the running backs get involved. 4 catches for 22 yards. McClellan, a big day as well, filling in for a lot of injured players, into Corian Moore, Gary Bryant Jr. He had 3 catches for 53 yards, a couple of really nice ones, including that 23-yard catch. And Jamari Johnson, a couple of catches, 3 and 34 yards total for him. Just a huge, huge spot. Nice couple of plays where, Dante Moore just doesn't have the main weapons, but they got guys like Jamari Johnson, so they're going to be just fine. And leading the way on defense, Bryce Betcher with 13 tackles and a tackle for loss. Dylan Thieneman, 8. And let's see, 1 sack for the day for Oregon. That would have been from Tuioti, and a bunch of tackles for loss. 6 total, 5 hurries, which that was a key for me. Oregon needed to hurry Maiyava a lot, and looks like they did a pretty good job at that. All right, let's get on to the Mountaintop Metal Roofing Player of the Game. We'll let you know who that is coming up next here on the Ducks Postgame Scoreboard Show. But first, we get to another game day traffic and weather report every 10 minutes. Here's Brandon Henson.
I-105 eastbound, there's an accident just before the I-5. I-5 northbound, more stop and start buildup leaving Eugene and into Coburg. Weather is currently 43 degrees in Portland. The Ducks postgame forecast calls for a high of 50 tomorrow, chance for rain overnight, and a 60% chance of rain tomorrow.
Say hello to Jim Fisher's daughters, Molly and Emily, who are announcing some really
16, left side, got room, 30, speed to the 40, sideline 50, sideline 40 the other way. He might go, he will go all the way. Touchdown! Malik Benson, 84 yards, and Oregon is back on top. Scintillating. Oh my.
Do it once, do it right. Mountaintop Metal Roofing.
Well, there he is, your Mountaintop Metal Roofing player of the game. And who it is. Absolutely scintillating, Brandon. You're right. Who else could it be after that punt return for touchdown than Oregon wide receiver Malik Benson? And not only, I get it. Kenyon Sadiq had another great game today. 2 more touchdowns, 72 yards, a couple of great catches. One not in the end zone, over the top of USC's defense. Great call by Will Stein and Dante Moore. And then another in the end zone, once again, over the top of USC's safeties in the defense. Just on today. Kenyon Sadiq is every bit as advertised, and Oregon's going to need him to play just like this if they want to compete in the college football playoff.
He was a man among boys, man. Every time, it was just like, Lane and on the other end from USC, but
it looks like he could be
Sadiq is just a big boy.
It looks like he could be a sprinter if it weren't for his size, man.
He just
God,
the leaping ability plus the size.
Yeah,
he's a hard guard, and he's just showing out in the last couple games and really stepped up for that offense. He was phenomenal game today from him.
But I would be remiss if I did not recognize Malik Benson and how little do punt returns for touchdowns actually happen. They're one of those, they're not as rare as safeties, but it's just few and far between. I have to go look at the record books to see the last punt return for touchdown, but maybe one last season or the season before. Yeah, so one last season, and then before that, it's just maybe you get one a year. And the fact that this one, scores, touchdowns, analytics, and stuff like that. You want to have your most impactful moments of your team's season in the most impactful moments in their most impactful games, right? Look at how well that matched up for Malik Benson today, turning the tide, keeping the momentum on Oregon's side after USC had tied it up earlier, and frankly, giving Oregon confidence, I think. When something like that happens, you almost feel unbeatable. And Oregon did, at least going into the end of the first half after that, they looked like they were feeling very high and mighty and looking unbeatable. A little scary in the third quarter at times, but like we were talking about earlier, Brandon, they were up by at least a score and mostly 2 scores after the second quarter, and one big reason for that was this Malik Benson punt return for touchdown. And on top of that, what a day for him. 4 receptions, 67 yards, including that big one on the sideline that ended up getting basically eliminated because of his taunting call. But hey, guess what? There was another penalty on USC's side that got those yards back. So Malik, no, I still count it. You got the catch. It's all good, buddy. And like Dusty said, yeah, that flag was more so just to control the game by the referees. That was probably the right move. But yeah, Malik Benson, your Mountaintop Metal Roofing player of the game. When we come back, we'll get to Dan Lanning. We'll hear what he had to say to our own Dusty Hara after Oregon's 42-27 win over USC today. But quickly, one more game day traffic and weather report. It's every 10 minutes from Brandon Henson.
I-105 eastbound, there's an accident just before the I-5, and I-5 northbound, more stop and start, build up leaving Eugene and into Coburg. Weather is currently 43 degrees in Portland. The Ducks postgame forecast calls for a high of 50 tomorrow, chance of rain overnight, and 60% chance of rain tomorrow.
Prime time with Isaac and Suk.
There was
Bryce Betcher. Touchdown, Oregon. The special package. Bryce Betcher, the Golden Glover, the great linebacker, South Eugene High School quarterback. The Wildcat takes a direct step on first and goal, scores easily.
And welcome back to the Ducks post-game scoreboard show here on 105.1 The Fan and the Fan Sports Network. What a win. Yeah, I've been saying it all evening, but this was the Ducks' most exciting game of the season. Their most exciting win by far, 42-27 the final. Just an unbelievable performance for your Duckies. More likely than not, I don't want to say for sure, but more likely than not, solidifying their spot with that win over USC in the college football playoff. Let's hear what Oregon head coach Dan Lanning had to say about it. Here he is after the game with our own Dusty Hara.
Here with Coach, and 42-27, but 1-0 on the week. Initial impressions on your team, a gritty win against USC.
Yeah, I felt like, those moments where we gave them life because of some penalties that we created or not getting a stop on third down, but ultimately, the most physical team always wins. We were able to be physical tonight, and that showed up.
It was a physical drive to kind of cap that thing off, an 11-play drive that ate up 6 minutes of clock and really just kind of took the life out of the game at that point for USC. Your offense and the way they operated on that drive, what does that say about that group that had a lot of new pieces in there?
That's one of those moments that reveals your DNA traits, right? After that drive was over with, I said that's a DNA drive, right? That shows the heart, the toughness of this team, the commitment to keep pushing and just outwill somebody, right? They had a loaded box every single play, and we were still able to move it down the field.
You've been saying for a long time that this team has got depth, and you guys got a lot of above-the-line guys, as you've called them. That's been tested over the last handful of weeks. What have you seen from this group and the depth that you have had to show?
Yeah, strength in numbers, right? It's continued to show up for us. I thought it showed up for us tonight. There's some guys got their number called that we weren't necessarily anticipating early, and they went in there and were able to perform.
Secondary had their hands full with a really good USC passing attack. What did you see from the back end of your defense?
I saw some guys that had fight, but certainly an area that we can improve, and I know that we'll come out and work on attacking that. There's some stuff that we can get better at there.
A running game, it really was humming in big spurts. No Whittington with another 100-yard game. What have you seen from the senior back and what he's been able to do?
That guy embodies everything that we're about in this program, right? The way he works, his commitment to being great, how hard he plays for his teammates. Couldn't say enough great things about Noah.
I've got to bring up again, though, the punt return for a touchdown from Malik Benson was pretty special at halftime. You said there's one play. We got to make more of them. Now that you can kind of sit back and think about that play and digest it, that's a guy who didn't start as the punt returner, wasn't the backup punt returner, but ends up with a huge play.
Yeah, Malik's a super capable player, and to see him go do that tonight, I'm so proud of him. That was we said special teams had to be special tonight, and they were, and that was obviously a huge play in the game, huge swing for us, something we take a lot of pride in and put a lot of work in, and to have that play out was awesome.
We're not used to as many penalties or as many penalty yards as what we saw tonight. Initial impressions on cleaning things up before next week?
Yeah, we got to go look at it and study it hard and figure out how we can be better there, because there's some of those that we should never be in that situation. Some moments that we can control where we were playing with emotion and not execution, something we have to attack.
And before we let you go, it was senior night, the last time for those guys to be out on the field. What does that mean to you as the head coach to see those guys taking the field for the last guaranteed home game?
Man, it gave me the hope to know that this might not be the last time we get to take the field there at Autzen. Really proud of those guys, and really grateful for the work that they put in for this program.
One guy who did a victory lap, though, Bryce Betcher, he's his second senior night. You guys gave him a touchdown. How long have you been working on that one?
Really just about a week, and it worked out perfect. He did a great job.
All right, Coach, congratulations on the win. We'll see you for a rivalry game up in Seattle.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
1-0 on the week, Dan Lanning is, man. He sounded very excited. I love these kinds of games, man, when they all come together like this. The most exciting game of the year on senior night for Oregon, 42-27 win over USC. And a lot of positive takeaways, all right? Yeah, there's things to change, but I will, Brandon, focus on the positives. Great performances today by Dante Moore, by Oregon's offense, and a lot of guys on Oregon's defense as well. And Malik Benson especially, that punt return for touchdown, man, really, really turning the momentum towards Oregon at that point in the second quarter. All right, we got one more segment to go. When we come back, we'll check the scoreboard around the rest of the top 25 and wrap it up here on the Ducks postgame scoreboard show. But before that, one more traffic and weather report. It is every 10 minutes here on Ducks Game Day. Here's Brandon Henson.
I-105 eastbound, there's an accident just before the I-5. Looks like it's clearing up, though. I-5 northbound, couple accidents as you're leaving Eugene. Keep an eye on those, and also a little slow and go as you enter Coburg. Weather is currently 43 degrees in Portland. The Ducks postgame forecast calls for a high of 50 tomorrow, 60% chance of rain with also some chance of rain overnight.
Your home for the Oregon Ducks in Portland. KRSK Portland.
Snap back to throw. Look, throw, deep end zone. Touchdown, Kenyon Sadiq. Don't need two. Sadiq, give me 6. Wow. What was that? Wow. About the time you least expect it. Bango, it goes to Kenyon Sadiq. 28 yards.
Dick Hanna Dealerships presents the Post-Game Scoreboard Show on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
Oregon getting the massive 42-27 win over USC today. Wrapping it up here on the Ducks Postgame Scoreboard Show on 105.1 The Fan. and the Fan Sports Network. Let's take a look really quickly before we get out of here at the rest of the college football scoreboard around the top 25. Obviously, a lot of big games this weekend. Everybody looking at the implications for possible college football playoff spots. So let's just kind of go down here. Earlier games that finished. Number 1, Ohio State beating Rutgers down 42-9. Not unexpected. Number 3, Texas A&M blanking Samford, not Stanford, 48-0. 4th-ranked Georgia over Charlotte in a beatdown 35-3. Number 8, Oklahoma getting the win over number 22, Missouri. This was a huge one, and it really could have messed with some stuff in the college football playoff if Oklahoma got the loss, but they beat Mizzou 17-6. John Mateer rushes for 60 yards in that win. Notre Dame almost blanked Syracuse 70-0, but Syracuse scored a very late touchdown to make it 70-7 for the 9th-ranked Fighting Irish. Number 10, Alabama did blank Eastern Illinois 56-0. Number 12, Utah slipping by Kansas State 51-47. Number 13, Miami over Virginia Tech 34-17. 14th-ranked Vandy beating Kentucky 45-7. And over to the Big Ten, some games, or actually first, I got to look at the games in progress here in the top 25 right now. Number 16, Georgia Tech. Upset alert. It looks like the ACC may not have somebody in the college football playoff because Georgia Tech was possibly a school that could have gotten in, although, man, they got a hard one at the end of the year I think it's Georgia. Like, yeah, that probably wouldn't have happened. Their rivalry game most likely would have ended that hope, but no, a week sooner. Fourth quarter, 8 minutes to go. Pitt beating Georgia Tech 35-14. Number 20, Tennessee blanking Florida right now 31-0 in the third quarter. Illinois losing to Wisconsin right now, 21st ranked Fighting Illini down 17-10 to the Badgers, and that one is in the fourth quarter as well. BYU, number 11, they are beating Cincinnati, but not by much right now, 10-7. That is about 11 minutes to go in the third quarter.
Go Cougs.
There. Hey, go Cougs. All right. And at the half, last score here, Colorado losing to number 25, Arizona State. 13-7. Penn State beating Nebraska, by the way, almost at halftime, 23-3 out of the Big Ten. And still to happen tonight, Washington facing off against USC at 7:30. That's an NBC game. Man, wouldn't it just be great if UCLA could beat them? Actually, you know what? I'm not sure I want that, because then Washington will come in foaming at the mouth, trying to start like anything up again as far as positive momentum in their program by beating Oregon and knocking them down a little bit, or possibly out of the college football playoff. Probably not. No, we don't need that. You know what? Let's just, Washington, have an okay game, get the win, so you're kind of just skating into Husky Hate Week, okay? All right, well, we have got a lot to get to in the next week, but guess what? You can take a day, Ducky fans, celebrate the 42-27 win. We appreciate you hanging around here on 105.1 The Fan and the Fan Sports Network to break it down with us. Make sure you stick around here. Like I said, we got a busy week planned here on the Fan Sports Network. Dirt and Sprague will be back live right here at 6 a.m. on the Fan Sports Network to get it going for Husky Hate Week. Yeah! Ducks get a huge win, 42-27, most likely sealing their college football playoffs hopes today against USC and getting their 10th win of the season. For Brandon Henson, really appreciate your efforts tonight. Good job, brother. I am Jordan Schultz. Thanks for everybody listening tonight. 42-27 win. Go Ducks, baby!
This has been the Dick Hanna Postgame Scoreboard Show on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey.